10.
Here we go. Howdy, Steve. My name is James, and I'm going to ask you a very controversial question. Let's get this fucking question out of the way. What are your thoughts on Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame on the WWE? Yeah, I get what he did, but he should never be forgotten because of things he's done in the wrestling field. You think he should be in the Hall of Fame? Well, first and foremost, what I think about Chris Benoit is that guy was one of the nicest guys I ever met in my life. He's one of the most talented, hard-working cats I've ever seen in a squared circle. Anybody who knew Chris would tell you those exact two things. That guy loved the damn wrestling business. He was born to be a wrestler, and he was absolutely phenomenal, drawing a lot of his inspiration, a lot of his influence from Dynamite Kid. Chris Benoit blazed the path as the Pegasus Kid, and his legacy as the crippler Chris Benoit was just one hellacious career. One night, Chris ended up killing his wife and his kid. That is a act so terrible and horrible, I can't even comprehend or even guess as to what happened in that house. That will always overshadow any accomplishment that Chris Benoit had in the ring. He'll never be in the Hall of Fame. It will just never happen. His career will speak for itself, but his record as a human being is first and foremost, and those actions will never be forgotten. That's my feelings on that. We don't even need to talk about the Hall of Fame. But speaking for myself, Chris Benoit, as the person I knew, loved him. Chris Benoit, as a wrestler, loved him. Chris Benoit, the person who did what he did, unforgivable. Bottom line.
9.
Fortunate Chris Benoit tragedy. We've asked a lot of guys that have worked with Chris and were there at the time. What are your thoughts on?
Chris was a good friend of mine, and he was one of the best in the business, man. There's no question about that. He was definitely one of the best in the business. That guy had passion like no other. I mean, he was unbelievable inside that ring. There's a lot of theories about, roid rage and all that crap. Well, we'll talk about Chris Benoit, and then I'll talk about my disappointment in mainstream media with that. Chris to me was he was one of the best guys in the locker room. I mean, he was not only inspirational, he was intense, he was focused, he was passionate, he was one of the best workers in the world, without a question. He was definitely one of the best workers in the world. However, I think what he did at the end of his life completely nullified his status as one of the greatest in the world of professional wrestling. To me, it sickens me to see that Chris Benoit was such a coward. And it's hard for me to say that. I feel my throat tightening up when I say that Chris Benoit was a coward, because when I knew Chris, he wasn't a coward. Now, am I misunderstanding where Chris was coming from? I mean, I understand that he was real passionate about professional wrestling. He was real passionate about his family. Maybe the passion got to him too much. Maybe he was too passionate. But it was sickening and it was cowardly. Do I think it was roid rage? No, absolutely not. My personal belief, what happened was, I think Nancy and Chris got into a huge argument. They started to fight. I think he choked her out. I don't think he meant to kill her. I think apparently they were both drunk. There was open beer bottles and wine bottles everywhere. So I think they were both smashed. I think he put his arm around her neck and, choked her out. I think she passed out, and of course, he thinks, she'll wake up in a couple of seconds. She doesn't wake up. She's dead. I think he starts to unwind. If it was roid rage, she would have bruises and cuts all over her. His son would have been dead right after his mother was dead, or Chris's wife was dead. That didn't happen. I think he choked her out. She passed out, and he couldn't revive her. And then I think he just became unhinged. This is where Chris became a coward to me, because rather than to stand up and accept what you just did and face the consequences, he decided to take his son out and then hang himself so he doesn't have to face the consequences. And to me, that's just cowardly and it's sickening. And I just don't think, I have no respect for Chris. All the respect that and he was one of the guys I respected the most in this business, and that's just completely gone. And it's not because of what I think may have been an accidental death. Regardless, it's still manslaughter. Whether it was murder or manslaughter, it's still wrong. But the fact he decided he didn't want to face the consequences and decided to take out his son as well, to me, that's just cowardly. And he has no respect for me whatsoever.
And you were going to say something about the mainstream media?
You know, I've always been weary with mainstream media, but with the Chris Benoit story, it really showed how backward mainstream media really is and how much of a ratings whores they are. You know, Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly all come out as, oh, we're not ratings whores, we just tell the truth. These guys are just as much rating whores as the people on CNN or MSNBC, anything to inflame a story. And, you know, the Roid rage, that is what is shocking to people. That's what will get the viewers watching and the ratings higher. I mean, you just look at the evidence. It cannot be Roid rage. I mean, there would have been bruises all over Nancy. There would have been cuts all over her. The son would have been dead right afterwards. There was no Roid rage involved. And they completely ignore the fact that there was empty beer bottles and empty wine bottles all over the place, and that alcohol was a huge factor in what happened. And for them to kind of take a look at the evidence to see what happened and to watch mainstream media ignore the facts and run with something that is complete theory, and just because it's a ratings grabber is very, very disappointing, and that really turned me off mainstream media.
Were you contacted at all by anybody in the media asked to talk?
No, there was a couple of messages on my phone to call them back, and I just had no desire to call them back.
Yeah.
8.
Kind of, because, I mean, we worked, you know, he worked with all the same guys that I did in Canada, you know, with Leo and Cuban and all those guys. So there's kind of like a connection there, you know?
Right.
And we can talk more about that, my opinion of the whole deal if you want.
Yeah. What is your opinion?
Well, there was wine bottles found, correct?
Yeah.
Wine bottles, and there was multiple drugs in the system, including Xanax. Now, I've mixed Xanax and alcohol together. Alcohol in itself can make a person very aggressive and angry. Okay? You put Xanax in the mix, you black out. Like I've drank alcohol and taken, you know, Halcyon, and when I was in Japan, I ripped off a fucking 200-pound screen door and not even remember doing it. Okay? Because I get very violent when I drink. So, what I think happened is that, have you ever been married?
No, single.
Okay. Well, you know people that are married.
Oh, yeah.
People get in fights all the time.
Right.
You know, you mix steroids, which is testosterone levels were what, 10 times the
I think so,
normal
yeah.
level? Okay. That's going to make you more aggressive. And as far as roid rage, well, it's possible that he got in a fight with his wife. And I think there was something going on to where she had filed for divorce. So it's possible that he was drinking, taking pills, and all that juice. Okay. She threatened to leave him. He flipped out, fucking did the deed. Woke up, came to, realized what the fuck was going on. Oh shit, I just killed my wife. He gave his kid a Xanax. There was Xanax found in the little boy's system, right? He gave the kid a Xanax so he'd fall asleep, then choked him out. That's when he hung himself. Because it happened over 3 days, right?
Yeah,
so
2 days maybe.
That's what I think happened. Make sense to you?
Yeah, 100%.
7.
And also, I remember him saying, you know, and I don't know, this is what Chris told me, that his previous marriage had ended poorly, and that I remember him saying something to the effect that my, you know, ex-wife fucking took me for everything. So he said, I have to work for the rest of my life because of the way that marriage ended. And I think it was, he was, you know, I was just getting engaged, and, you know, he was kind of giving me the pep talk, you know, like, be careful, know what you're getting into, that kind of thing. Well then, you know, if you look at Eddie died, He was beat up and tired. He took some time off. I don't think it was enough time. You could tell he was just like, he didn't have that same spark in his eye. He was just kind of there,
Right.
punching a clock. Which is a bad thing in our business, you know. Like, again, you have to love it, you have to eat it, sleep it. And he had kind of, I think, lost a little bit of that passion, but he was still passionate when he would go through the curtain. He was still passionate when he would take guys like me and MVP under his wing and try to help us out. You know, he was passionate when he trained, but as far as like the just being there and traveling and being on the road and you know, getting beat up every night, it was really taking a toll on his body. And then, you know, you hear about the fact that they were having marital problems. You know, I think that it was it wasn't just the one thing. It was all that stuff. And I think he was afraid that Nancy was going to do the same thing that his ex-wife had done, his first wife had done to him, and felt backed into a corner. And I'm not condoning. I'm just
Right.
trying to figure. You know, and over the years, you try to figure out like, why would he do that? Why would he do that? And I really think that that's a combination of all those different things. You know, the media and you know, the Congress and everybody, they want to point at steroids. Well, I think the general misconception that the media has, and therefore the rest of the world, is that you take this substance, you stick it in your ass, and you get huge. You turn into the Incredible Hulk, and you beat women and children because of it. And it doesn't work like that. And I'm not condoning taking steroids or anything like that. I'm just saying that it doesn't work like that. And you know, that documentary, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, I wish that would have gotten a little more play. I wish that would have, because I think that tells a really good story of the real deal behind that whole issue. But yeah, it was a combination of all that different stuff. He was tired, he was beat up, and he was going through marital problems. He was a guy that wanted to. I think he wanted to be done. I think after Eddie died, he was like, I'm just checked out. And I think he thought, like, I am gonna have to literally work the rest of my life and do this, and I don't want to, and I don't know what else to do. I can't go be a doctor or a lawyer, or I don't have any other trades. That was his skill, being a wrestler. So
6.
Not long, because it was 140 characters. He asked me if I thought Chris Benoit should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. This has nothing to do with the WWE Hall of Fame. It has to do with Chris Benoit being honored as a outstanding professional, whether it's WWE Hall of Fame or the one in Amsterdam, New York, or the one in Biloxi. I don't care, whatever. I'm just saying that. But you know,
I mean, does the NFL if they do a documentary that would otherwise feature O.J. Simpson? Do they act like he wasn't there and they don't mention him and they ignore any of the things that happened before he fucking started killing people?
No, I think not. I think you're right there. I don't think they go out of their way to embellish his legacy, but they don't ignore him.
Honored as his life or his career celebrated, but at the same time, and that's unfortunate because he would be a Hall of Famer, but he kind of disqualified himself. But as far as being erased from everything, I think that goes a little too far in the other direction.
I think that the WWE is slowly integrating him back into some of those old DVDs, and I said no, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. What's your take on that, or do you have one?
Unfortunately, I don't think he should be erased from history to the point that they have done it where the shows he's edited out, et cetera, simply because it actually calls more attention to it for the people that know that he was there. They are great performances. He was, as we all know, for 99.9% of his life, the nicest, kindest, best kid, most determined, hardest worker that you would trust, the whole 9 yards. And then for whatever reason, and I'm sure several of them played a part together, he went completely insane and did horrible things. I don't think he should be honored in a ceremony.
5.
What are your thoughts on the Chris Benoit situation?
That was just tragic beyond. I mean, the only people that will ever know what really went down, were the people that aren't here to talk about it anymore. He didn't look stable for quite some time after his neck surgery, and
Mentally or physically?
It was that will never be a disconnected thing, especially in the field. I mean, if the body's under pressure, you're under pressure. If your legs are not secure underneath of you, you're an insecure person. That's gonna. So you see that bled out through the body. So you can tell so much about somebody's psyche by what's going on. I mean, I receive DVDs day after day of athletes in motion, and I can go through and tell you entirely what they're thinking where things are held up. And so the very way that they're responding or doing an interview or talking, from motion of mouth, tongue, everything it's right there for you to diagnose and see and to be with. And that's part of the success of putting somebody's body back together again, is being able to see that. And so it was in distress across the board. And and it's hard. It's a very allopathic world, that when you get hurt in the ring, I mean, I'm the product of multiple surgeries after being hurt in the ring, and so unnecessary as well. So that's where you can't change a lot of the dynamic that happens, but you can go out and make a difference in that. And that's how I spend at least 12 hours a day, 6 days a week now, making a difference in the lives of athletes and people that are in the entertainment business, to make sure that they can be in there happy, sane, both body and mind, physical and mental, for as long as they want to be.
Do you keep in touch with anybody in the business now at all? Or?
No, this is actually the first time I've sat and talked about the business with somebody in and involved. I mean, so this is the first time. So I hope I haven't scared any small children, and mothers are pulling their kids back in the car. Ah.
Is there anyone that you never got a chance to work with that you really wanted to work with back in the day?
Oh man, I would have loved. Ric Flair came in then. I would have loved to have hung on for just a little bit longer, and have been able to just even been around while they were putting stuff to gather anything of that. Yeah, I got to meet him. I would work out in his gym when we were in the Carolina.
Charlotte.
Yeah, and he was, every bit as beautiful when I met him. A very larger than life person, and very gracious, beautiful man.
4.
Amen.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me, and thanks for helping me out in those times. I appreciate it. You think my good buddy Chris Jericho would get me out of getting kicked out of the locker room?
Yeah, this is like it's like an Oprah interview. I want to go to those deep emotions.
Yes, the deep emotions. I did get kicked out of the locker room. It was it was a stupid thing by me. So I'm in the locker room. There's nowhere to really go. There's nowhere to put your stuff down.
Space is very cramped.
You would think, as a WWE superstar and in the biggest traveling I guess you could
company,
say circus, entertainment conglomerate, that we would have an amazing, immaculate locker rooms. That couldn't be further from the truth. All our locker rooms are like cubby holes, so we all have to squeeze in there. And so it was one of those small, locker rooms. I sit down, I start eating some chicken. As I'm eating the chicken, someone goes, "Hey, you're spilling chicken all over my bag." Now, in my mind, I wasn't spilling anything, because I still was in that mode of, okay, I have to respect everyone, make sure you don't get anything on anything. And then it kind of escalated to, it got all over everyone's bags and this, that, and the other thing. And I thought everyone was joking. I thought it was a joke. So I literally walk out. I walk out. I start watching my match back, just because that's what you do when you're brand new. You watch your match back. You try to figure out what you did wrong and how good you are. All of a sudden, I hear, and I get literally yelled at worse than I've ever been yelled at in my entire life. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. The veins were popping out of his.
Who was it? Was it Benoit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben was
popping
out of his veins. He was so angry. I was like, oh my, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And I was stuttering. I had no idea what to do. I was like, oh my God, like, I just got up in the WWE. I try to be as respectful as possible. And you know me, I'm a loudmouth. I like to talk. But when I first came up, I wasn't a talker, but everyone assumed that I was the character that I was playing on the show. And so it was kind of one of those bad situations. And, yeah, I get called up and I get kicked out of the locker room. And it was at first, actually, this is actually what happened first. So he goes, blah, 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 blah. And so the next day he goes, hey, Miz, you know, you're not going to be kicked out of the locker room, but you just know that what you did was terrible, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, yes, sir. The next day comes by, he goes, you know what? You're kicked out of the locker room. Get your stuff out of the locker room, but you're only kicked out on live event days, not on TV days. So I was like, okay, great. So the next day I come to TV, I put myself in the locker room. Miz, let me talk to you. You know, people have been talking, rumblings, and everyone thinks that you should be kicked out of the locker room for TV as well as live events. So I was kicked out of the locker room for like 6 months. And it was terrible. It was horrible. I would find ways, like, you know how Matt Striker got kicked out of the locker room and he would do it right in front of people? He would change right in front of people?
Yeah.
Me, I said, screw that. No one's going to know that I'm kicked out of the locker room. I'm going to hide and find out my own little locker room, my own little personal locker room. The only problem is finding a bathroom backstage that's in a locker room, isn't in a locker room is very, very difficult. I remember one time I had to go out into the audience in order to go to the bathroom. I remember a little kid going, I'm using the restroom, a little kid going, I think the Miz is in there. And I'm like, this is the lowest of the lows of my career right now.
Well, you know, it was probably a trial by fire. They wanted to, because I wasn't there at the time, but I remember hearing about it. I think they were trying to see if you had, you know, what it took to be involved in the business.
3.
And also you became the ECW champion on a night that will always be remembered because you were called up to replace Chris Benoit. Tell us a bit about the night when this happened and you were told that you would become the ECW champ.
Literally, like, no one knew why Chris wasn't there that night. And so I was there, I was in the office, and I think someone told Laurinaitis that Benoit wasn't there. And he's like, well, Daryl, what are we going to do? And at the time I was like, well, Johnny Nitro, huh? And literally, like, he laughed at it for a second and then looked at me. He's like, well, you and Thorne are the only other heels from the ECW roster. And then literally when Chris didn't show up, like, they decided to put me in as his replacement, and I could not have been happier. Nobody knew at the time why Chris didn't show up. And, you know, then the next day we found out why, and, like, everyone, they broke down and started crying. Like, we knew Benoit, we knew his family. They're extremely nice people, and to this day, it's something that everybody thinks about that's involved and knew those people, and is very confusing.
To this day, there is a big discussion about how to handle the wrestler Chris Benoit for the future presentations of DVDs and of events, and it seems that at this point, for the WWE, there's no coming back to Chris Benoit as a wrestler. What is your opinion on that?
It's hard to watch him, for me too. It brings back a lot of memories of him and his family, and the man that I knew, and the situation, the reality of what happened. I don't know. It's hard to say how anyone's going to feel in the future. For me now, it's hard to watch him though.
2.
What are your thoughts on the Chris Benoit tragedy?
He obviously had, you know, when I met this kid, he was 140 pounds. He was a really small kid. He worked hard. He trained hard. Nobody worked harder to achieve stuff than he did. He was so quiet, so well-mannered, but he had. It was not steroids. You don't do a steroid rage and kill 2 people and yourself. That ain't roid rage. Roid rage is run out, maybe hitting a motherfucker with a pipe or something across the head. But I think he had some kind of a chemical imbalance, maybe a bipolar or something like that. And let me tell you something. Now, this is what a lot of people don't know. And I said this to my wife, and she thought I was fucking crazy. I says to her, when I found out the girl was tied up, she was bound with her feet tied and her hands behind her. And there was no sign of a struggle. Now, New Jack, you've been in a whole bunch of struggles in your life. If a motherfucker gonna tie your hands and feet, I think you'd be fighting back.
Yes, I would.
There was no sign of a struggle. But I remember when Kevin Sullivan started dating this girl, and they would go in and handcuff and tie each other up and do all kinds of shit. So maybe she thought, and this is a whole new avenue for the cops, maybe she thought she went upstairs in the office for something other than getting fucking strangled. You know what I'm saying? Because she used to dress in all them outfits and that all the whips and chains and shit. And from what I understand, she was into all. It's like and even Hogan come out and said, sometimes they start believing their own shit. Well, he was indirectly saying the same thing I'm saying.
Well,
but there's no reason to kill that kid. I don't give a shit what you've done. There's absolutely no reason for no man to go and kill a kid. I mean, if you want to kill your old lady, goddamn right. I had a couple of wives, and I want to kill a couple of them too. Yeah, I want to kill a few bitches, and I know some bitches want to kill me. But you don't go kill the kid. The kid was off limits.
One.
No. That was too easy. That was too easy. Cause see, I done had some bitches in my day that I wanted to choke the fucking shit out of. And eventually, I ended up leaving the motherfuckers to keep from being on some bullshit like that. Okay? We don't know. Y'all know.
We don't know.
I ain't got nothing but respect for him. Let me tell you something.
We don't know what button she pushed.
Nancy was a goddamn friend of mine. Alright? She was a friend of mine. And I worked with her and Chris at the same time. She was more of a friend of mine than that motherfucker was. And I don't give a fuck what she did. I don't give a fuck what she said. She didn't what he did to her didn't justify. I don't give a fuck what it was. If she was off into some S&M shit, trust me, it didn't just start that motherfucking night and it ended that motherfucking night. That motherfucking Chris was off onto some mental shit all by himself. Fuck steroids, because somebody in this room done steroids before.
Oh, I did.
And not just me. And you know what? I ain't been convicted of choking no hoe and killing a fucking kid. No, the kid didn't deserve to get killed, and she didn't deserve to get killed either. Because first of all, you look at him. If the bitch mouth is that big and you can't take it, then bitch, go on get the fuck on. If you got to smack the bitch upside the head, smack the bitch upside the head and go on get the fuck on. But it took a motherfucking straight 100% uncut fucking coward to do what that motherfucking did. And his motherfuckers just keep coming out to this day talking about what kind of a guy he was. He was a good guy. My dick. When you choke a kid life out his motherfucking body and this kid got your posters up on his wall and then got your action figures up in your belt, and then your wife is depending on you to take care of them and to provide for them, even though she may have a big ass motherfucking mouth, it ain't a motherfucking thing that can justify you choking the life out that bitch and then shooting your kid up with motherfucking Xanax and killing him too. I don't give a fuck. And till death do us apart ain't nothing but some shit that somebody motherfucking wrote in a goddamn book on a motherfucking piece of paper. If you can't take what the bitch is doing, if a smack don't goddamn do it, then leave that motherfucking bitch. And then his daddy comes on TV and tries to justify by saying, oh, he did the ECW and that wasn't nothing but garbage wrestling because he got hit upside the head. I'll show you 10 tapes of Chris get hit upside the head. I'll show you 10 tapes of Chris putting his motherfucking hand in the way and his hand taking a shot. That motherfucker didn't never get no fucking chair shot to his fucking head crack. God damn it. He didn't never get hurt to that motherfucking level. I cracked my motherfucking skull and had shit coming out my nose, my ears, and my fucking mouth. Didn't know who I was for goddamn 4 or 5 months, and it ain't none of my kids are still living to this motherfucking day. So you know what? The day that he killed both of them, all the goddamn credits to him good goes out the motherfucking window. Chris Benoit, I hope your motherfucking ass, if there is a heaven or hell, I hope you go to hell and catch the fuck on fire for eternity, motherfucker, because it ain't a motherfucking thing And for all the motherfuckers trying to cover up for you and justify for you, fuck you and fuck them too. And for motherfuckers with Vince, like Vince, that done tried to make excuses for you, fuck that motherfucker too. I'm sorry. I done seen the shit as a kid growing up with my mom and my fucking daddy, and fuck that bullshit. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. That Nancy did not deserve to get the life choked out of her because you was on some old psychotic shit. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. And for all you hand-picked motherfuckers that Vince put on them fucking talk shows and goddamn put Benoit over, I hope your kids born fucking retarded because the shit didn't make no sense. From John Cena on down to everybody else talking about he was a good guy. From fucking the $1 Million Man dude talking about he was a good guy. Motherfucker, when you killed your fucking 7-year-old son, and when you choked the life out your fucking wife, it ain't a motherfucking thing good should have came out nobody's mouth about your punk ass, and I hope the maggots eat your motherfucking ass slow, you cocksucking motherfucker. And just like everybody else knew, this shit that Vince did, you still got away with it because it was a big thing in the news at one time, and all of a sudden it died down, and it's WWE back to fucking normal. And it's the same thing. You got away again with fucking murder. And Vince McMahon, you and the motherfuckers that work with you, all of you got blood on your hands because all of you motherfuckers is crooked and you just keep getting away with fucking murder. You had that cocksucker Brian, something another from Figure 4, something another, whatever that bullshit was. Brian Alvarez, come on talking about when Cronus died, talking about, oh, it was drugs and ECW, and they ran rapid, and they was at ringside, and this other. You was a goddamn lie, because bitch, I worked for ECW from 2000, from 90 motherfucking 495 to 2000, and the only motherfucker died when I was there was motherfucking Louis Pagoli, the only one. But you look at the motherfuckers done work for fucking Vince and done fucking died, you goddamn cocksucker, you're averaging 3 a goddamn year. So just goddamn go do the motherfucking math. And then you pretend that you fire all the motherfuckers that's on steroids. You didn't fire no fucking body. You take a piss test, anybody can piss in a motherfucking cup and put somebody else's name on it. That ain't a motherfucking test. That ain't a drug test. That's bullshit. You got people working in your fucking office that their job is to do office work and stay fucking clean. So Tess can goddamn piss goddamn clean. And trust me, when you gave Tess his name, you didn't get that motherfucker's name called Tess because he made good grades in fucking high school, motherfucker. He was a goddamn steroid freak, and you fucking know it. Your ass done got away with murder, and you gonna have to answer to some fucking body somewhere one motherfucking day. You gonna have to. And I don't give a fuck what none of y'all say, but you look at your fucking track record, and you stand there, you pretend like you firebody. You didn't fire nobody. You paid off some contracts. You sent some people home early. You paid their contract up. And you was like, instead of you, I'm not going to renew your shit any fucking way. So here you go. I need to let some of y'all fucking go. Here you go. Oh, by the way, y'all get sent home with pay. Bitch, I would not play the game like that. And for all you motherfuckers that still play it and still up on the fence with a nut resting on your forehead, you motherfuckers ought to tuck your dick between your legs and duct tape it and run around the house and rub peanut butter on you because you ain't a fucking man. You's a fucking bunch of goddamn cowards. And Brian with Chris Benoit, you was a fucking coward. You was a straight fucking coward. You choked your fucking wife till she fucking the life left her body. You choked your son till the life left his body. And then you took a fucking cable, put it around your neck, and had the nerve to put some padding in between it just in case the bitch didn't go right. Amen. Fuck you. Amen. And fuck the motherfuckers that fucking support you. I love my brother.
What are your thoughts on the Chris Benoit tragedy?
He obviously had, you know, when I met this kid, he was 140 pounds. He was a really small kid. He worked hard, he trained hard. Nobody worked harder to achieve stuff that he did. He was so quiet, so well-mannered, but it was not steroids. You don't do a steroid rage and kill 2 people and yourself. That ain't roid rage. Roid rage is run out maybe hitting a motherfucker with a pipe or something across the head. But I think he had some kind of a chemical imbalance, maybe a bipolar or something like that. And let me tell you something. Now, this is what a lot of people don't know, and I said this to my wife, and she thought I was fucking crazy. I says to her, when I found out the girl was tied up, she was bound with her feet tied and her hands behind her. And there was no sign of a struggle. Now, New Jack, you've been in a whole bunch of struggles in your life. If a motherfucker gonna tie your hands and feet, I think you'd be fighting back.
Yes, I would.
There was no sign of a struggle. But I remember when Kevin Sullivan started dating this girl, and they would go in and handcuff and tie each other up and do all kinds of shit. So maybe she thought, and this is a whole new avenue for the cops, maybe she thought she went upstairs in the office for something other than getting fucking strangled. You know what I'm saying? Because she used to dress in all them outfits and that all the whips and chains and shit. And from what I understand, you know, she was into all. It's like and even Hogan come out and said, sometimes they start believing their own shit. Well, he was indirectly saying the same thing I'm saying.
Well,
but there's no reason to kill that kid. I don't give a shit what you've done. There's absolutely no reason for no man to go and kill a kid. I mean, if you want to kill your old lady, goddamn right. I had a couple of wives, and I want to kill a couple of them too. Yeah, I want to kill a few bitches, and I know some bitches want to kill me. But you don't go kill the kid. The kid was off limits.
Honky, I love you. Your son is perfect. How can I kill my son, Daniel, 7 years old? Chris Benoit, I saw you 3 weeks ago in the West Penny, Pennsylvania. You told me, Sheik, come see me. You told me, Sheik, give me your number. I gave you my number. 3 weeks ago, you killed Daniel. I understand why you killed Nancy Sullivan. But remember, Chris Benoit, you told me, Cheeky baby, I'm lonesome. I live in Fayetteville, Georgia, 45 years. Chris Benoit lived in Fayetteville, Georgia, only 15 years. Chris Benoit, how can you fucking kill the Daniel? Daniel was 7 years old. I don't mind you kill Nancy Sullivan, but how can you kill the baby 7 years old? Daniel, Chris Benoit, you get a lot of hit with me. You take me in home, and I kiss Daniel. And I kiss Nancy Sullivan. But brother, how can you kill your son, Daniel, 7 years old? How can you kill?
Why don't you just pack your bags and leave? Why don't you just pack your fucking bags? If you want, go kill your fucking son.